It's the Morning Buzz with Fuzz.
Yeah, I ain't choose the game chose me. I'm a champion, I need some trophies. I can draw the lane, I can shoot the three. I can run 100 yards, I can throw it deep.
What's happening, everybody? You said it couldn't be done or it shouldn't be done, but it did. It's back. The return of the Morning Buzz with Fuzz. The world needed another podcast, and I vow to fill that gap and make it happen for you. If you're new to the show, my name is Fuzz Martin. I hosted the Morning Buzz with Fuzz from 2006 until 2011 at 92.5 WBWI in West Bend, Wisconsin. Before that, I was on that station in the afternoon with a show called Your Ride Home from Work. That was from 2000 until 2006. You may remember my infamous billboard where I was wearing nothing but a cowboy hat, and it said, listen to Fuzz on your ride home from work, and the hat stays. And some of you probably, hopefully, blocked that out of your minds until I just reminded you just now. Still, even with that billboard, I was able to eventually get a new job. Hell, I even got elected to office. You know what I always say? If you can't cancel yourself, who can you cancel, you know? So what am I up to now? I'm married. The daughter who was born while I was on the air back in 2004 is now a freshman in college. Yes, you and I are both old. I have a 7-year-old, and of course, I'm married to the love of my life, Shanna. I'm also an owner at Epic Creative in West Bend. I host a weekly podcast called 15 Minutes with Fuzz, which is about positive things happening in and around Washington County, Wisconsin. I'm a Kewaskum Village trustee. And for those who still ask me, yes, I do miss radio, just not the hours, the pay, the uncertain future, old radio station general managers, things like that. I miss this part, being on the air, cracking jokes, having fun. But I still have microphones and recording equipment, and I am here to use it. So welcome back to the Morning Buzz with Fuzz. I've got a great show for you coming up here today. We've got a bunch of special guests and fun segments, including Name That Ringtone. All coming up here on the Morning Buzz with Fuzz. Before we get too much further, I want to take a moment to thank my awesome sponsor. The return of the Morning Buzz with Fuzz is brought to you by Cousin Subs on Paradise Drive in West Bend and on Fond du Lac Avenue in Kewaskum. First of all, happy birthday to my man Keith Novotny, the owner of these two great Cousins locations. Keith is a local guy who has been slanging subs for Cousins since he was 16 years old. He's always out supporting the local community. He helps out nonprofits. He hires local employees. He lives here locally, and he makes a mean sub. If you have a party coming up or a work gathering, a graduation, retirement, whatever it may be, consider a party box or box lunches from Cousin Subs on Paradise Drive in West Bend, or of course on Fond du Lac Avenue in Kewaskum. Their 20-piece party box serves 10 to 15 people, and their 12-piece party box serves 6 to 9. Nice. It's a great deal, and again, you're getting great food and supporting a local business. And thanks again to Keith Novotny at Cousin Subs on Paradise Drive in West Bend and Fond du Lac Avenue in Kewaskum for sponsoring the return of the Morning Buzz with Fuzz.
It's the Morning Buzz with Fuzz.
Now time for the news with Bob Dohr. Hey, Bob.
Fuzz, how are you?
I'm well. How are you? It's been a long time.
It has been a long time. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, you too. So we started working together back at the radio station when I started working with you when I first started. I think it was in 2000. When did you start at the radio station?
I started in 1991.
Wow. You were there that long before I got there. I guess I probably knew that back then, and then my brain has turned to mush, and I didn't remember that. What have you been up to since your days at the radio station?
Well, after I left West Bend in, I think it was 2009, I took a radio job in Door County and was there for about 4.5 years. I was the news director for a group of stations there. Then went back to my hometown in Wausau I worked as a news reporter for the Daily Herald for about a year and a half. And then 2015, moved down back to the Milwaukee area and have been working at the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, first as a reporter and then as an editor, and now as a reporter and editor.
Oh.
So keeping me busy.
You've also taken up photography, I see.
Well, yeah, I'm doing quite a bit more of it. I've always enjoyed it. And then 3 or 4 years ago, and I've never really been able to afford any good equipment because I'm in journalism. So that's kind of what it was. And then a few years ago, I did buy a better camera. And so I've been doing more of that. Gets me out of the house. And if I'm out walking in the outdoors anyway, now it's kind of fun to bring the camera along to see what I can find.
Yeah,
so,
well,
you've got fun.
Yeah, you've got a lot of beautiful shots that I see you post on Twitter and other places. So super cool. So right now you're an editor and reporter. What's your beat?
So my beat is the kind of the southwestern suburbs of Milwaukee, and also doing features and kind of quirky offbeat features. But my new role as of December is still doing that, but about 80% of it is editing. So
okay.
Doing editing of other reporters on our team.
So we worked together for, I don't know, it was probably about 9 years, I think, if you left in 2009. What were some of your favorite memories, not even just when I was there, but of working at the radio station back in the day?
Yeah, it's tough to kind of pin them down. I just remember the people. It was always a fun place to work. It was always enjoyable to go in. In terms of memories, I think some of the football or basketball or baseball games that I called.
You called a state championship baseball game, didn't you?
Several of them, actually. Yeah, for West Bend East and West Bend West.
Mm-hmm.
And funny moments that would happen on the air. Then I can't think of anything specific right off the bat. It's an interesting industry in that there's off air and on air. And so I think a lot of people would be kind of amused by some of the stuff that would happen like right after or right before going on the air.
Like seconds before going on the air. Actually, I have one that I remember from one of my first days at the radio station, and that was in November of 2000. Do you remember this story now yet?
Yes. Yeah.
And the phone,
I know where you're going.
The phone rang, and it was Al Gore calling to get people to go out and vote. And I said, I think this is above my pay grade, and we passed that on to you because you were still at the station. I think I was running a NASCAR sports show or something on the air at that point. But yeah, if I'm putting all the memories together correctly, if I'm not, correct me.
No, that you have it exactly right. You took the call, and then I think we both, you on the FM and me on the AM side of things, were running network shows. So the feed would come in via satellite, or we might have even played it on a cassette at that point or something.
Yep.
But we had to kind of make sure that the local commercials played when they should and that sort of thing. And and you passed it on to me, and I kind of worked it so I could do the interview. He essentially, if people don't remember, he was running against George Bush in the 2000 election, and it ended up being, that was the hanging chad, and it took several days to decide who was going to win and all those things back when that was. And that was the most dramatic thing that would happen in
back when it only took.
And that was big news back then. And so that was fun. So I remember I jotted. I'm like, well, boy, if I'm going to interview the vice president, I better have some things to ask him. And so I jotted a few things down on a Post-it note and went into our production studio, and it was kind of cool that then his person was calling, so like the vice president will call you in 10 minutes. Okay. And so,
good thing they gave us a little buffer and not, you've got 30 seconds and go, be brilliant.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I do remember also that we would call them in the industry drop-ins. So you would take kind of bits of what people would say and you play them out of context, and they would hopefully be kind of funny or humorous. And I had two of them from that interview. One of them, let's see if I can remember what they were. One of them was, "Yes, I do, Bob." So there was that. And then, and then the other one was, "Well, I would urge them to reconsider." And so And so I would play. I had a show on WBKV for a while, and would just kind of play those randomly, and then yeah. So it was a good time.
So I used to do a George Bush impersonation. Had I known you were that good with your Al Gore, we could have just riffed for a while and done a debate
That's all
together.
I got.
Yeah. Oh, that's all we needed, though. Just those two lines, all we need. So, well, Bob, it's great catching up with you, and I hope you're doing well. You and I need to catch up sometime and grab lunch, all right?
IRL, yeah, for sure.
IRL, not just on this silly show. Thanks again, and it was good talking to you.
All right, thanks, Fuzz. Appreciate it.
92.5.
All right, time for the next fun portion of the show, which everybody loves. But first, I want to introduce our contestant on Name That Ringtone today, my lovely wife, Shanna Martin. Hello, Shanna.
Hi.
So we're doing a little bit of reminiscing on today's episode of the Morning Buzz with Fuzz. So I want to talk about the time that we first met before we get into Name That Ringtone.
Okay. By the way, I've never even heard Name That Ringtone, so this would be great.
You probably didn't. So
No.
Shanna and I started dating on January 1st. Well, like we started talking before that, but we started dating
Our
on
first date. Yeah.
January 1st, 2010. Very, very easy to remember. I highly recommend
Having your first date on
taking
January 1st.
January 1st of a year that ends in 0.
Yeah.
It's a good way all the way around. But you lived in Burlington.
Yeah.
We met on eHarmony.
We did.
You lived in Burlington and
Correct.
never listened to me on the radio. But one time
Nope.
you were heading up, I think, to your parents' house in Door County, right? Or somewhere
I think so. I was heading up north. Yeah, I must have been going to Door County or somehow driving through.
Yeah, so you were in the listening area.
I was. Yeah.
And you decided to listen to
And
the
I was
show.
like, oh, I think I can get you on the radio. I should listen. So as I was driving through, I turned on, and I never listened to country music. And I turned on the radio and I heard you. And the song was playing about some old dog in heat. It was like dying or something. And I was like,
no, the dog wasn't
wow.
dying. The dog was horny.
Yeah, no, I got that. But it was like my old dog, and I don't know what it was, but I was like, wow, this is what I'm dating.
I
a
wish
guy that listens to this stuff. But then
not only did I listen to it, I
you
presented
talked about it,
to
and people
everyone.
loved it and
Yeah.
loved you. And, you know, it was a great time had by all. But then it improved because as I was listening, I think on the same day, because I was driving through, you then played crisscross, and you were talking, and then you had crisscross, jump.
So I had some
And
music
so
beds.
then-
If you remember, I had some music beds in the background.
Right. And so I was like, okay, this isn't all bad. Like, I know this song. This is a good song. So we're okay. And then I learned to appreciate some country music as we spent our quality time together.
I wish we had another contestant in here to guess which song you were talking about initially. The song was Old Red,
Old Red, yeah.
by Blake Shelton.
And I
in
know that
which-
now because I always point out that there was a dog in heat that was howling. And that was the first song I heard you play on the radio.
Yeah. And so, the song about the person who escapes from prison by having his brother or somebody bring a dog in heat that then took the prison dog off the scent of his trail. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
that's a classy song.
It is.
Yeah.
Also, then getting into country music, you spent many, many, many nights with me at the Mine Shaft.
Yes, our whole dating story was Friday nights at the Mine Shaft. You would always sing Alan Jackson.
No,
Not Alan Jackson. Toby Keith. See, I'm still on I don't know any of these things. Toby Keith. And you would always play the Zach Brown Chicken Fried.
Yeah, Andy Ziegelbauer would play
right
it.
before you would start announcing, right before country karaoke started.
Mm-hmm.
That was the kickoff song to notify everybody. It was just always the song that was played before country karaoke started.
Exactly. And
I just sat at the bar or sat at the chair next to the booth and hung out. And that's how we dated on Friday nights.
and then our wedding song.
It was a Zach Brown band.
Zach Brown band, whatever it is, by Zach Brown.
Yeah.
And now on our...
We also spent lots of quality time in the trailer together too.
We did.
There was a lot of trailer and a lot of fairs.
Do you remember the time that we went to the Waukesha County Fair? Do you remember that?
And it flooded?
It flooded.
It was raining so bad. And the station van, there was water up to like the the step to get into the station van. And we're like, are we going to make it home? And you're like, we're in the station van. It's fine. Okay.
It wasn't fine. But we made it.
But we made it.
I was just very confident.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was one time I believe we went to a...
Well, the station van sat higher than your car at the time.
Yeah.
So it's probably safer to be in
Exactly. We made it. But that was not a fun fair to be at.
No, it was like a
I'd been at fairs before. There was one time I was at a fair for this was when I was at 104.5 in Whitewater. I was at the Jefferson County Fair, and the Kentucky Headhunters were playing.
Ooh, fun.
And I was going to announce them. There was a tornado, and I got to help them load their van with equipment. It was kind of fun.
That's fun.
And
we also spent time at the Ozaki County Fair in the trailer. There's a lot of trailer time.
Oh yeah. The Washington County Fair.
Yeah.
We spent times at lots of car dealer parking lots. And I'll be talking to a car dealer coming up
Truck
here.
Outfitters who sat in their parking lot.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And now we're gonna buy some new tires for your Jeep. Maybe there. We'll find out. So one of the most fun parts of the Morning Buzz with Fuzz was a contest that I had on the air called Name That Ringtone. Now, ringtones used to be very popular on phones.
Yeah, I used to have a cool ringtone on my phone. You'd download it and pay money to have the cool ringtone and the ring back tone. Yeah, when you were listening.
Right, exactly. But that would be like an actual song. But the ringtones would be like this, like polyphonic, like not quite the actual music.
Right. It's just like a pretend version of it.
Yeah. So for all you kids listening at home, you've got it made these days.
In many ways.
Nobody even has their ringer on these days.
No.
they're like, oh, why is your ringer on, you psychopath?
Yeah. If something's actually playing, if there's music playing or like going off, it's because it's somebody's like Apple Watch. It's not.
Right.
Not the actual phone.
I did that in church too the other day. While we were sitting there and I hit this button. Because I didn't know what it was. And then it turns out that's the, hey, where's my phone button? So anyway, we're gonna play Name That Ringtone, Shanna. And the way that this works, I have 6 songs loaded up here.
Great. Are any of them songs I'm going to even know?
I think you'll know all of them.
Okay. But I'm not gonna know the
none of them are country.
Oh, okay.
Because I didn't want to do that to you, because I know you're not a country. It would be not fun for you.
Right.
And so and also,
but probably very fun for everyone listening.
This isn't a country radio show.
Right.
This is a fun show.
This is a fun show.
We're having fun here. You guys have fun. So we're gonna go with what you.
Okay. Do I have to know like artist and song?
You can say.
I don't know song names. Yeah. I might just like know more words to it.
And these days you'll be like, oh, that's from Kids Bop.
Great. Yes. Everything I listen to is the Kids Bop version of things.
So you don't get a prize. We are going to go out to eat after the show.
I get dessert.
If you get it right, your prize will be this.
Cool.
And that's really loud.
That is really loud.
And if you get it wrong, your prize will be that is also very loud. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Well, so that's your punishment for getting it wrong.
And we'll see if I can hear the next song after I get it right or wrong.
Bleeding eardrums.
Perfect. Can't wait.
So let's get into song number 1.
Genres or anything, or this is just like random?
I don't think you'll need them. One thing I do have to say is, since I used to have a site that I go to for all of these, and I think they got busted for royalties.
Yeah, sure.
I think actually Taylor Swift caused that, which is great. Good for her.
Yes.
But I found one site. So
we'll see if it works or not.
So
all right.
Here we go. You ready?
How long do I get?
Song number 1. Time is on our side because we're not backing up to
30 seconds. We don't have a commercial coming through.
Each of the clips is like 15 seconds, but you'll probably get them before that. So we'll start with this easy one.
I know the song. I don't know who sings it or.
I was accidentally singing it before.
Like you.
Girls Like You from Maroon 5.
Yeah, I fail.
Yeah, fail.
Like I know the songs, but I don't. Again. Yep. Great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That's okay. That's okay. You'll get it. I'll give you another one that I know that you will get. If you get it wrong,
multiple choice.
If you get this one wrong, I'm going to be confused. And it's not our wedding song.
Okay. Well, it's the theme song to Harry Potter.
Okay, there you go. So,
and they're by John Williams.
Oh,
no.
well, look at it.
Are they? No. Scratch that. They're not. Are they?
I don't know. I'm not that guy to tell you.
Like he does, like they might be. No, he does other movies, lots of movies.
Hey Siri, who composed the theme song to Harry Potter? John Williams. There you go.
I was right.
You're right.
Yeah, I knew the composer
double
too.
points. You get an appetizer today.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Or a glass of wine. Great.
All right. If you're listening in the morning, we recorded this at night.
Or a really good cup of coffee.
All right.
Okay. I got one right.
All right. So here we go. Song number 3.
Okay. Oh, hold up. Yeah. It's what's her name? It's Billie Eilish.
Yep.
And I know the song. I don't.
I'm a bad guy. Duh. I'll give you a half ding.
Okay. Thanks.
There we go. All right. There we go. So Billie Eilish, bad guy. Next up, we have this little.
By the way, all of you that are acing these, like, more power to you. I know the songs, but like when you're under pressure, it's a little more like it's intense. And it's like not even really under pressure right now, but I feel like I should know this, and I do, but I
imagine if you were a caller.
I'm not even like winning like free tickets to a rodeo. Like what am I supposed to do?
Nobody. You can have one of these stickers. There you go. There you go. You get a sticker.
We have a bunch of these at our house.
Oh, okay, fine. All right, here we go. Okay. Song number 4. I gave you hints before.
Oh, yeah. It's Taylor Swift. Shake It Off.
Yeah. There you go.
Nice.
Good work.
Yeah, you have to like get into this because there's like a lot of like.
Yeah, well, stuff. It starts. So that was one of the things is they all start with a marimba sound now because it's like.
Is it to
old
throw
school.
off?
No. I think made it to throw off the copyright people. Yeah, probably. Good call. We have 2 songs left.
Okay. Am I winning? No. Am I split?
I would say you're 2.
I got 2 right and a half. I have 2.5 out of 4.
2.5 out of 4. That's not bad at all. Here we go with song number 5.
Okay.
Name that ringtone.
Yeah, I know the song.
It's on Kids Bop all the time.
Yep.
All again.
Yeah, I know. So it's Dance Monkey.
Dance Monkey is correct.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go. 3.5 out of 5.
Get there.
All right, time for our final song. And I'm wondering if I accidentally put the same song on twice. So we'll see here. If I did,
then I better get it right.
We'll get it. Yeah, if you get, all right, here we go.
Maroon 5. No. Oh yeah, it's Yeah, I know it's the memory.
Yeah, like, Memories. Yep, Memories by.
I'm thinking. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, here's the thing. I'm gonna give you a half. Because you got the name of the song right, but you actually had the artist right earlier because it was Maroon 5 2 times. The first one was Girls Like You, and the second one was
See, I know Maroon 5 songs, but I don't necessarily know that it's Maroon 5 singing because I feel like it's, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, because it was a ringtone and you couldn't hear Adam Levine's voice.
I guess.
Yeah. But there we go. That was Name That Ringtone.
So I got like 4.
You got 4. If you do the math.
I get 2 halves.
Yeah.
And
that makes a whole
3 holes.
And yeah, there we go.
So 4.
So there we go.
Boom.
4. Boom.
Dinner.
Dinner. Dinner. All right.
That's fun.
I'll even get the tip.
Great.
Shanna, it was such a nice time seeing you here. Oh, we see each other all the time.
We do.
Thank you for coming on the show and experiencing Name That Ringtone for the first time.
I know. I've never seen it, never heard it. I mean, I've heard it, but not by you.
Yeah.
And so
there we go.
I get to be on your little show.
I know. It's fun. All right.
Fun.
Well, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Time to check in with Jimmy Carter.
Last night, big night in New York for Garth Brooks, inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame.
262-306 WBWI.
Pure Country.
Hi, could I please make a request?
You sure can. What would you like to hear?
Could I hear Tim McGraw, She's My Kind of Ring?
I can do that. Who is this?
This is Sarah.
Sarah, where are you calling from today?
West Bend.
All right, thanks for listening.
Yep, bye-bye.
Here it is, Tim McGraw, and She's My Kind of Rain on Pure Country.
92.5.
So let's talk about some stories. I started in radio when I was 17 years old. I was a freshman at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. I was going to school for pharmacy, and I walked into Drumlin Dining Hall, and the radio station, 91.7 WSUW, was having auditions there in the cafeteria. I jokingly went over there. I read the weather forecast. I think I read a couple news stories that they had printed out for me. And later on that day, they reached out to me and asked me if I wanted an on-air shift on the school station. And I did. And I started working and doing a smooth jazz show called West Main Street, which ran at 2 o'clock on Wednesdays at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. This signal didn't go much past the city of Whitewater. After a few months of doing my show on that station, the broadcast teacher, Dr. Tremblay, Dr. T, reached out and had a conversation with me, told me that he likes what I was doing on the air, and he told me that if I wanted to go get a job in radio, that I could. So I went and got a job at a little radio station in the middle of a cornfield, literally in the middle of the cornfield. It was called 104.5 WSLD, Your Home in the Country. And it was literally a house in the middle of the country. And I worked there for about 2 years. I did on-air stuff and ended up becoming a salesperson. I left school. So then I decided to go back to school for a little bit, quit doing sales. And then I ended up saying, you know what? I'm going to go all in on radio. So I quit school again. I got a job driving truck. Ended up getting hired by Mike Elliott to be a producer for NASCAR races on 92.5 in West Bend, and the rest is history. Mike became my biggest mentor, and without him, I definitely would not be where I am today. Unfortunately, one of my best friends in the world and my biggest mentor I've ever had in my career, and I would say, aside from my parents and some family members, my biggest mentor that I've ever had in my life, Mike Elliott, passed away on April 20th of 2020. 2020 was a bad year all around. Mike was 82 years old, and I am joined today by one of his sons, Blake Elliott. Blake, thanks for joining me.
I appreciate the opportunity. You know, as I told you at my dad's celebration thing, you were a pretty special guy to him, and he always spoke highly of you, and so it's my honor to talk about it. Your dad, probably, outside of my own parents and a couple other family members, the most influential person in my life in terms of giving me opportunity and taking a shot and teaching me how to not only be on the radio but really more market things than anything. So, Blake, tell me, give us the history of your dad's time in radio. How did he get started? I'm sure he's told me stories over the years, but I know you lived it. Yeah, I mean, it's actually a crazy way that he started. So he played football at Springfield College, and he got injured on a play, and the only way that they told him he could still letter that year was to do something associated with the football team. So he literally went up into the radio booth and broadcast the games
to
get a letter. And
wow.
that's actually how he started in broadcasting. Just loved being on the air and doing things that way. And somebody heard him, offered him a job. He was also, I'm sure he probably told you this at some point because he was very proud, but he was also a musician. So he played drums at weddings and different events. So that was the other love that he had. But he had somebody hear him doing one of the football games that asked him to get into broadcasting. And that was in Atlantic City.
Okay.
So he worked for a radio station called WOND. And from there, I mean, gosh, he had a very long career, as you know.
Oh, yeah.
I know we moved from Atlantic City to Washington, D.C. We lived in Gaithersburg for a while.
Okay.
From there, it took us to Chicago, down to Atlanta, back to Chicago, to Milwaukee. And then what he would tell you the highlight of his career was, and I know he's shared this with you, Fuzz, was the fact that he got the opportunity to do his dream job, and that was to broadcast Major League Baseball for the Houston Astros.
He was play-by-play guy, right?
He was a color guy
okay.
on the air with Gene Elston and Dwayne Statz, and I think Dwayne is still doing Rays baseball.
Okay. Yeah,
but that was kind of his dream.
Yeah, he was very, very proud of that. He, of course, should be. And I still remember his Houston Oilers cowboy boots that he had.
Right.
He was, when he came to Milwaukee, he was on TV for a while, right?
So he did a lot of different things in Milwaukee. He actually came here to be on the air at WTMJ Radio, AM, and so he did a lot of on-air stuff there. And from that, there were a couple of offshoots that he got the opportunity to do. And one of them was Weekend Sports on Channel 4, which he loved to do. It was, again, this is going way back, so I don't know if you remember these names, but so some of the other sports guys on the team were Hank Stoddard, which is a Hall of Fame broadcaster, Lionel Aldridge, who was a Green Bay Packer player.
Yep.
And Mike Hegan, who was a Milwaukee Brewer player.
Yeah.
And then my dad was part of that rotation doing Weekend Sports. And then the other thing that a lot of people don't remember that my dad did was he had a bowling show that he did on one of the stations.
That's right.
Called Scotch 300 Doubles.
Yes. That's right. I do remember him talking about that. He was in Milwaukee then probably for the longest portion of his career then, right? He was like,
he was,
80s until he retired in 2005, I think 2005 or 6.
Yeah. I mean, off and on. So we actually came here in 74 to Milwaukee via Chicago. And then he was here for a long time on TMJ. When he went down to Houston, he actually went down to Houston the first time to work for KRBE and KENR. And he did broadcasts from Mickey Gilley's place, which was famous from the Urban Cowboy movie.
Yeah.
Moved back to Milwaukee. He actually went to work for Willie Davis, an ex-Packer player who's a Hall of Famer.
Yep.
Willie had a couple of radio stations. So when we moved back, he worked for Willie. He went back to Texas, came back to work for WISN radio, and then back to WTMJ.
Wow. So so then he ended up being the program director at WTMJ for, I don't know how many years. It was a long time, right? And then,
it was.
And then went over to, was it the oldie station, right?
Yeah. So then after his WTMJ career, he was with the oldies station for a couple of years, and they had some ownership change, some management changes, and he ended up leaving there. And then he ended up in West Bend. So
yeah, and then he hired me while I was driving a truck trying to make my way in radio and have still have the bills paid, which was awesome that he took a chance. Actually, the other day I was looking through old paperwork and I found resumes that I had sent out to all these different stations at that time. And I had a couple of like, small part-time bites, I would say, but Mike, he's like, come on in, we'll hire you right away for running the board. And then pretty soon after that, I started writing station imaging and putting it on his desk, and he decided to hire me, which was awesome. So, and then from there, we were kind of like, it's kind of like a buddy cop movie until he retired. So
yeah, no, like I said, he had a lot of respect for you, and especially he enjoyed when people would kind of start in that business.
Mm-hmm.
I think, he always had signs and different motivational things around where he considered himself really more of a coach.
Yeah. Yep.
Than an employee. So he liked that coach player mentality. He always believed in, you bring people on as a coach, you put them in the game, and then you let them play the game. And that's what I remember growing up was he always looked forward to having different people come into the business and succeed. And like I told you, he had a lot of respect and admiration for you being able to do that and come in, and because that's tough, being on the air and doing some of those things and being in the public eye all the time, doing remotes. It's a step change for people. He
always had crazy ideas to get people to pay attention. He always used to say some, Mike had so many different Mike-isms, but that I actually have some written down somewhere where I used to write them down when he'd say them, so I'd remember. But I remember he said to us, just because we're in West Bend doesn't mean we need to sound like we're in West Bend and act like we're in West Bend. So let's have fun with this. And we did stuff like going through in the back of a pickup truck through a car wash together, wearing like snorkels and stuff like that. Once he printed all the logos on our T-shirts upside down on purpose so that people would talk about them and think that it was a mistake. And I still see people every so often wearing that upside down T-shirt around. It was just taught me a lot, and really that player coach mentality now that I'm a business owner and have a lot of employees and such, and just exactly that whole thing about finding the right people, letting them do their job, getting out of their way, and letting them succeed and shine is something that he taught me, and I don't know where I'd be without that kind of stuff. So
yeah, no, that's great. I mean, I think you also know he believed in taking chances, like some of the marketing things that you talked about. He really believed in taking chances and asking forgiveness later if it didn't work out. That was definitely one thing that he believed in, because he just felt like you can do the same old thing that everybody else is doing and be boring and vanilla, or you can take some chances and get people's attention. And I would say he was like that as a father as well.
Sure. So
always encourage taking risks, calculated risks, but
yeah,
take some risks. Yeah,
absolutely. I don't know if you remember, because I think you were out of the state for a while, right? But he had convinced me to go on a naked photo shoot with just a cowboy hat and covering the important parts, and then put me up on a billboard all throughout the listening area that said, "Listen to Fuzz Martin on your ride home from work, and the hat stays." And it was, people again still talk about that to this day, and it was it was fun. People remember, and he knew how to get people's attention and make them pay attention. So
yeah, we were in Minnesota when you guys did that, but I do remember it.
Yeah, that's all great stuff. And yeah, your vanilla comment, I still use to this day, that if everybody loves you, you're vanilla. It was something he'd say all the time, is just a way of, making sure that you stood out. So, well,
absolutely.
Blake, I really appreciate, first of all, I know this was a huge loss for your family with your father passing away a few years ago, and for me as well. But I love reminiscing about this and looking at at Mike's Hall of Fame page on the Wisconsin Broadcasting Museum Hall of Fame. There are 40 comments of people with similar stories to mine and yours, and really appreciate that. And I appreciate you taking some time to talk to me today.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for the chance and your comments, your nice comments. I think that if we are all as lucky to have a legacy like he has and pass things on to people that you're able to talk about and learn from. That's kind of the key to success. So I'm glad that he made that impact on you and other people.
Thank you very much, Blake. Appreciate it.
Take care, Fuzz.
All right. Well, I'm going to go wipe some tears out of my eyes. And then we're going to check in with Steve KEARNS.
No rookie, I'm OG. I am the king of the league. That mean I do what I please, whenever I please. I keep a trick up my sleeve.
The return of the Morning Buzz with Fuzz is brought to you today by two of your local Cousins Subs sandwich shops. One, the location on Paradise Drive in West Bend next to Menards. And two, the location on Fond du Lac Avenue in Kewaskum next to the stoplights. Are you looking for a food truck for your work event, graduation party, car show, community event, block party, retirement party, a big birthday party, a soccer game, a fishing tournament, a baseball tournament, grand opening celebration, a large book club, maybe a church event, maybe you have a work site filled with hungry construction workers, maybe you're having a very exuberant funeral. Get in touch with Keith Novotny at Cousins Subs on Paradise Drive in West Bend and also on Fond du Lac Avenue in Kewaskum, the sponsor of today's show. Through his mobile trailer, Keith can feed 100-plus people in minutes. And not just subs either, though his subs are delicious. He also has chips, beverages, nachos, mac and cheese, and Cousins chili, which is fantastic. And again, Keith gives a ton back to the community. And by booking with Cousins Subs, you're supporting local. If you want to book Keith's Cousins Subs trailer, either reach out to him on his cell phone or hit him up on Facebook. You could just message him on his personal Facebook page, or his cell phone number is 262-573-8468. And you can rewind this if you need to hear it because it's not live. You're listening to a podcast. You can rewind it by 10 seconds and check that out yourself. Okay? Okay. Thanks again to Keith from Cousins Subs on Paradise Drive in West Bend and Fond du Lac Avenue in Kewaskum for sponsoring the return of the Morning Buzz with Fuzz.
It's the Morning Buzz with Fuzz.
Hey, Fuzz.
Hey there. Can you hear me now?
Oh, can I hear you bright and clear?
Oh.
Holy balls.
Oh, man. It is so good to hear your voice. Sorry about that. I have like $1,400 worth of recording equipment in my studio in my office, and it can't work with my phone for some reason. Then I came back home to my cheaper setup, and this is working fine. So
how's everything going with you?
Things are going great. How are things going with you?
Excellent. Excellent. I saw your daughter. Holy cow. The last time I saw her, she was so small, and now she's bigger, taller than you are.
Yeah, she actually is. I think she's at 5'11 3/4, and I was 6 foot, but I've shrunk, so I'm now 5'11 1/2. And yeah, she's finally beat me. She's powerlifting at UW lacrosse and has a boyfriend and all that stuff that I never wanted to happen. I mean, I wanted the powerlifting to happen, but the boyfriend
stuff.
Not
the boyfriend?
The boyfriend stuff, yeah. But you know how it goes. You've got you've got all your kids are married now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of them are married. What do I have? 8 grandkids. I have 3, 6, 7, 8 grandkids. 8 grandkids I have.
So are you running the store, or your kids run the store in Johnson Creek, or how's that work?
All three of us are.
Okay.
And Travis is a buyer. Austin does all the PR stuff, and then I oversee the store.
Yeah. Well, you guys have a ton of cool cars that I see all the time on social media.
Yeah, we've got into the supercars.
Yeah.
And it's been unbelievable. And one of our we sell to a lot of dealers also. And one dealer just with supercars last year, I think they bought well over 100 cars from us.
By supercars, you mean Honda Civics, right?
No, we do a lot. We do a lot. Like if you go to the site, we do a lot in Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Porsche, McLarens, Rolls Royce, and it's real funny because we had a guy come out here because you saw how we take our pictures. We got a circular booth now that goes around the car. It's really funny, and the guy was from Atlanta, and he's coming out here. He stops in and just shakes his head, and I go, "What's wrong?" And his name's Randy, and Randy goes, "Gee whiz, I'm coming down the road, cornfield after cornfield after cornfield, and all of a sudden I come to a place that has more Lamborghinis than a Lamborghini dealership." And it was just super funny.
You should just say every farm needs a peacock, and that's
you know, it's really funny. You know, how many people still come up to me and say, "Man, they miss you and I on the radio." Okay,
I get it all the time.
No lie. Okay, and you know what? I thought of you on Monday night. Okay, Monday night. Travis and them are in Florida right now at Disney, and his mother-in-law wanted to surprise him because Travis's wife Monica bought a bunk bed set, and it was a pretty expensive bunk bed set, and they waited for 4 months for it, right? And remember how we always talked about dumb stuff and funny stuff, just everyday things, right? So they said, "You got to come over here and look at the instructions and look at this thing." So my girlfriend and I go over there. We go in there, and in the bedroom, it's all empty except all the pieces of this bunk bed set. This is no lie. There's about 400 pieces to it. Okay. First thing is all the hardware is missing. Okay. Because, you know, you and I can sit there and look at something and kind of figure it out. If you got the instructions, we're these guys that try to figure it out without using the instructions because we act like we're, you know, more intelligent than we are.
It's real easy. There's screws, and certain diameter will fit here. No problem.
Correct. So all of a sudden the bag is missing, and I said, "Where's the instructions?" And here they are. This is no lie. There's about 50 pictures of how to build this thing. The pictures are about the size of a quarter.
Yep.
50% blurry, and the instructions are in Chinese.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we're sitting there looking at this thing like, "You've got to be kidding." And I said to Dawn right away, I said, "If I was on the radio, we would be laughing at this thing so bad because we started figuring out certain pieces, but you can't put it together because there's no hardware." Okay.
Yep.
And all of a sudden you look and because it's from China, the things that aren't going to show that are in the back of like drawers and stuff are different pieces of wood off something else stapled to it.
Okay.
So that's like getting a car and inside the dash there is yellow stitching or something.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was so funny, and I go, "Man, would this be funny with Fuzz?" Okay, because it was so, you would have just died laughing if you would have walked in.
So did you get it together, or did you use duct tape? What was the solution without the hardware?
No. I call those guys and say, "Hey, you know that surprise that you guys were waiting for?" They go, "Yeah," real excited. "Well, you're going to be surprised when you come in the room and see it all over the floor."
Surprise!
We're not putting it together.
Yes, your surprise came without the supplies.
No, but it's so funny. But if you look at it, it's all out on the floor, and I figured out the main bones to it because you can figure that out. The rest of it, I have zero idea how it puts together.
And then you're supposed to put some kids on it. And just make sure that it doesn't collapse on them. So to your point about people still talking about the show, I get it all the time still. Like, "Oh, I miss you and Steve in the morning," or "I really hated when you and Steve would talk for so long." But it's usually like 90% positive, and even the ones who didn't like it still talk about it. So it worked. That's all I'm saying.
Do you remember who our biggest critic was?
Jim Hodges.
your general manager of the radio, because I think, wasn't it because he didn't think of it?
It could have been. There were a whole lot of things there. I wasn't quite sure of what the motives were behind it. One of the reasons I got out of radio, but I think, part of it was that other car dealers would complain that we talked for so long, and one of the things I was taught and actually said was the reason that this works and that people remember this is because we were not talking about selling cars. We were talking about stupid stuff that people engaged with, and people could see themselves in, or it was a funny story that they laughed about. And then when somebody wanted to buy a car, they want to go buy a car from the person who made them laugh. Not you can get a car pretty much anywhere, right? All things considered, and it's the relationship part. So I think that's what we had, and I think some others got jealous of that or spoke up because we're going too long. So
I think how it started is, did we do live 30-second commercials? And remember at the beginning, you kept warning me, hey, you got to be careful. You got to be careful. And the biggest thing was with swear words. And I don't think most of the people realized I don't swear. And how that came up, because, you and I talked about it, is I went to a Catholic school when I was little. And I was in the group that everybody thought, oh, man, it's so cool to swear. So F this, that, this. Well, anyway, all of a sudden one night, we're sitting there, and this was in 3rd grade. I remember it perfect. And my parents said, we're going to be going to West Bend, and we lived in Jackson at the time. And I said, oh, yeah, what are we going for? Oh, you'll see. As I'm sitting in the back seat by myself and none of my brothers or my sisters, I was going, what did I do good? And I couldn't come up with one thing. So I know we weren't going to Dairy Queen. And what did I do bad? Oh, my goodness, I didn't have enough time. So all of a sudden we go to the school, and now I'm wondering, we go into the school and we sit in this room, and all of a sudden the principal's in there, and I think it was 4 of my buddies with their parents. And all of a sudden the teacher started saying it. And it's funny because I was the only honest naughty guy that said it. And we have to use these swear words. Now, you got to remember, we're in a Catholic school in 3rd grade.
Yeah.
And I had to say all these words in front of my parents and in front of the nuns and everything.
Man.
And it was, and I swore at that time, no pun intended.
Yeah.
But I said, I will never swear again. And from 3rd grade on, I have not sworn.
Wow.
And do you know how many good jokes I can't tell?
Right.
But the thing is, it's a lot of discipline not to do it. So when you and I got on the radio, it was live, and I believe there was no delay, or there was a couple second delay only.
For most of the time, we didn't have a delay. Yeah, there were toward the end, I had a 7-second delay, but I never used it. I think I used it a couple times when I screwed something up, like we went to dead air and I needed to pretend like I didn't screw up, but that was about it.
Oh, and then one of the funniest things was, remember way back, Texas Roadhouse.
Yep.
Had a little bit of an issue with a cook.
Yep.
And then with a customer. So what they were doing is, we went there, and I feel sorry when somebody, does something like that to a business owner. They have to make a living. They have other people that work for them that they're responsible to make a living on and stuff. And if you remember, they came to my store and they gave us some buns. And I said, here, I go on the radio every day with Fuzz Martin. And a matter of fact, they said they listen. And I said, if you guys want to give some free coupons out for some free meals, is this ringing a bell now?
Yeah, oh yeah.
We will do this, and we'll give them out. Now you got to remember, I've never done this before. So I said, here, Fuzz, why don't we give them out? How about the 7th caller? Okay, gets them or something, because I never knew how that worked. Yeah. Right? Our phones were jammed for like 2 hours.
It was crazy
that morning. Yeah. And we couldn't even do anything at the dealership or anything, because it was all this.
Yep.
And it was just so funny. And the things that you and I would talk about, you've heard of MJ Stevens, right?
Oh yeah. We just ate there 2 weekends ago, had brunch. It was delicious.
Okay. Mark Jug was the owner there, and he died, I think it's almost 2 years ago. And a couple of years ago, he came up to me and said, Steve, I listen to you and Fuzz all the time. And I go, really? Every day he would miss it.
Yep.
Every day.
Yep.
And I was really proud. Here's a guy with a great establishment. Listen to us every day. You know, how many other people, right? So I was talking with Jason Jug, and he has the hitching post, if you know where that is.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, you know, one thing I remember your dad telling me, he listened to Fuzz and I every day when he was counting money and doing everything. And he goes, yeah, I know that. And I go, you knew that too? He goes, yeah, that's the only station that would come on his radio in the basement.
Yes, the old captive audience. I had some cool ones while I was on the air. I had, if you remember, Mr. Quadracci, the owner of Quad Graphics, before, or actually after he died, somebody from his office called and said, oh, he used to listen to you every single day, which I thought was super cool. And I also once had the late, great, I was just telling this story the other day, Ernie von Schledorn, the Ernie von Schledorn, called my show when I was doing afternoons. So I must have been like 23 or 24 years old at the time. And he called in the afternoon, the Friday of Memorial Day weekend. And do you remember Derek from the radio station? He would be the ones who would put all the commercials onto the schedule moving forward, you know, throughout the weekend and stuff like that. Well, it was just him and I at the station. Ernie calls and goes, who do you know wants to buy a car? And I thought it was you or somebody else just, you know, being a dork and trying to mess with me. So I hung up on him, and then Ernie von Schledorn, the Ernie von Schledorn, called me back again and said it again. And I'm like, hey, like, you know, doing requests or whatever right now. And I don't know if it was his sales manager or somebody grabbed the phone and said, hey, don't hang up. We want to buy $5,000 worth of commercials this weekend between now and Monday. And then Derek and I had to sit at the radio station until like 7:30 that night, scheduling commercials on the radio for him. So
there's two things. I got an Ernie story, but another thing like that is I was in the audio video business. You know that. And I worked for the Milwaukee Bucks for 31 years also in there. And all of a sudden I get a call. The guy goes, oh, hey, Steve, this is Mike Dunleavy. And I go, yeah, sure it is. Click. And I hung up. All of a sudden the phone rings back and goes, Steve, this is Mike Dunleavy. I said, sure, I'm Mary Poppins. And I hung up the phone again. Because Mike Dunleavy, everybody always told me he doesn't talk to anybody. Mike never talked to anybody. So the third time, phone rings again and goes, don't hang up on me. This is Mike Dunleavy from the Milwaukee Bucks. I go, you serious? And then I could tell by his voice, I'm going, you got to be kidding. Do you know from that day on to when he wasn't coach for the Milwaukee Bucks, he would call me almost every night and go through basketball with me.
Oh, really?
And nobody down by the Bucks could believe this. Okay, and pardon?
Oh, I was going to say you were friends with George Karl, right? I mean, you guys are pretty tight.
Yeah, very good friends with George Karl. We invest in certain things still to today.
Okay.
We just did a subdivision in Mequon.
Oh.
But George I talked to a lot. He lives in Denver, Colorado.
Okay.
But yeah, a real nice guy.
One of my employees was his assistant at the Bucks for a number of years, Erin Perio, and she's always got stories, and she loved her time working with George. So
he is probably the most immature grown man I know, worse than you and I. And
hard to believe.
He just makes you laugh every time I'm with him. It's almost like a sin. It's too easy to pull the wool over his eyes. And every time something happens, his girlfriend Kim looks at him and goes, George, when something dumb happens, just remember who you're with. And a couple things. We were in Denver. I always took the kids. We went to Denver playoff games all the time because after the Bucks, he went to the Denver Nuggets. So we'd always go there for playoff games. And then also my kids are big, big Tom Brady fans.
Oh, yeah.
You know that?
Oh, yeah.
And George would always get us tickets either to we always went to the Broncos taking on the Patriots, either at the Gillette Stadium or we'd have it at Mile High. And George would always, his kids were friends with players in that. And that's how we would always get our tickets. So we were up there one time, and he said, "Hey, you want to go to a soccer game?" And I go, "Geez, I've never been to a soccer game." So I went to the soccer game. Let me tell you, it was my first one and probably my last one.
Okay. All right.
But I'm sitting there, and I'm with George and his girlfriend and his daughter. And we're sitting there, and here's George, and we're in the stands. It's outside. And George has on this big, like a straw hat. Okay, it's a big straw hat, kind of. And I said, "I got to go to the bathroom." So I go back, and there's this one security guard.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, "Hey, do you know George Carl?" She goes, "Do I know George Carl?" "Yeah." And I go, "See the guy with the hat over there?" She goes, "Yeah." I go, "That's George. Get out of here." I go, "Can you do me a favor?" She goes, "Sure." So I said, "You got to wait till 2-3 minutes after I sit down." So I go and sit down. We're talking about the game again. And all of a sudden, this big security woman comes over and goes, "Are you George Carl?" And he looks up, prouder than a peacock. He goes, "Yes, I am." And she says, "Sir, we're getting a lot of complaints behind you. Could you please take off your hat?" And he goes, "Oh, man, I'm sorry." "You bet I can." Kim looks back, and there ain't a soul behind us. She goes, "George, turn around and look." And then the woman came clean, right? So right after that, we go to Boulder.
Yeah.
Boulder, Colorado, and there is a cheesecake factory there. Okay? So everybody goes in. It must have been like homecoming or prom at that time, because all these guys with suits and everything are lined up, all these kids with their friends. So they're all in there, and George is looking, and George is the hottest thing since cream cheese down there. Everybody loves George. So I walk in a little later, and maybe 30 seconds, a minute later, and all these guys are talking. I go, "Who is that?" And they go, "That's George Carl." I go, "No way, really?" And they go, "Yeah, that's George Carl, the coach of the Nuggets." And I go, "Oh, man alive." So I get my phone out, and I go, "George?" George looks at me. I give him a big kiss on the cheek. He punches me in the gut. All these guys are looking like, "Oh, my goodness, a stranger went up to George and kissed him." I looked at him, and I go, "You son of a gun." Turned around and walked outside, and everybody's jaws were just open.
I love that. That sounds very much like a Steve Kearns story.
And
to me.
It's just so funny when you can it's too easy. It's a crime.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But you went to Bucks games with me and stuff.
Oh yeah. Actually, I had a great story of when you gave me 2 tickets to sit down courtside at a table on toward the corner where the players come in and out. And I brought Bree with me, and she must have been 4 or 5. And just after halftime, she wasn't having it anymore. She's like, "Dad, we have to go home." And she was starting to get, pouty. So we start to leave, and we're going up the steps, and she tripped and fell and hit her face on the steps, and she got a bloody nose or bloody lip. And the whole section started booing me. I'm surprised it didn't end up on Sports Center that night. And it was like, I was holding her hand. She just tripped and fell on her face, but everybody's like, "Boo, worst dad ever." And I was like, okay, first of all, I'm just doing my best here, guys. But yeah, but it was great. No, we went a few times to the games with you, and it was always awesome. And actually, I was thinking the other day about the time we went to the NASCAR race in Miami, which was another world experience that we'll have to probably save for another time, because I've got a call coming up here, and Jim Hodges is giving me the wrap it up signal. So, Steve, I hope you're doing great. It was awesome to talk to you, and don't be a stranger. All right.
Always fun, buddy. Thank you so much.
It's the Morning Buzz with Fuzz.
Well, I think this is the time on the show here on Saturday, April 1st, when this is being published, that I tell you, of course, the next episode of this show will not happen. April Fools. Okay. I'm not really a big April Fools guy, but I've been wanting to do this, and made it happen. It was a lot of fun to put together. It was also a lot of hard work. I want to thank Bob Dohr for coming on the show. Thanks to Blake Elliott for lending his time and sharing stories about Mike Elliott. May Mike rest in peace. I also want to say, if you're a person who prays, please do so for Ken Coles. Ken's been in the hospital for a bit with some health issues, and he's in good spirits, but he needs your support. So, hope you get better, buddy. Want to thank Keith Novotny for sponsoring the show. Cousin Subs on Fond du Lac Avenue in Kewaskum, and also on Paradise Drive in West Bend. Thank you, Keith, and also happy birthday again. We appreciate it. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. And I appreciate all of you for listening. Thank you to Steve KEARNS for coming on. And, of course, thanks to Shanna for joining me for Name That Ringtone. Her first ever time playing that Name That Ringtone. Actually, her first ever time hearing that because she lived out of the listening area when we were dating. I'll talk to you on Tuesday for 15 minutes with Fuzz. Till then, thanks for playing along with my little game today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. Thanks.
Yeah. I ain't choose the game chose me. I'm a champion, I need some trophies. I can draw the lane, I can shoot the three. I can run 100 yards, I can throw it deep.